Maria, we have multiple investigations going on, both in the Senate, the House, as well as Director Mueller's being a special counsel. So you've got a lot of activity. I think in this case, in both cases, what we really need to do is get to the bottom of this, what really happened, get the facts. Hopefully they're presented in a credible, objective manner, whether it's by a House or Senate committee. A little more politics there, perhaps, although I think Senator Burr and Senator Warner have done a very good job to date. And we'll see how Director Mueller's probe plays out. But get to the bottom of this and get beyond it. But it is going to take, and I can tell you firsthand dealing with it, it does really put a lot of pressure on a White House agenda. Right now, President Trump is pushing for tax reform, as you just interviewed Kevin McCarthy, and he's got to separate those within the White House. I think he's taken steps to do that, but that's a political challenge as well as a legal challenge.
Judge, I want to get your legal opinion on this because I don't think it's a huge surprise that this is Paul Manafort based on the raid that we saw this summer. But I want to ask you about the timing. Just as Mack just mentioned, President Trump has indicated that some of this is just to cloud the Republican effort to get tax reform done. What do you think about the timing from when we saw that raid on Manafort's house to now?
I hope sincerely that the timing of the indictment has nothing whatsoever to do with politics.
But that's a good question.
That's a great
very
question.
Good question.
If there is some attempt on the part of the special counsel to disrupt the White House, to interfere with the White House, which is oh so close to getting what it wants on tax reform, we have a very serious ethical issue here.
Dagan has some headlines. Go ahead. Dagan has headlines right now. Go ahead.
On that note, tax fraud is one of the charges, according to the report.
Oh, this would be personal tax fraud on the
part of Paul. I know. I'm just saying that one of the charges is tax fraud. The indictment is expected to be unsealed later today, and Manafort is expected in court late on Monday in Washington, D.C.
Well, there's no question, and Mack is right, and he lived through this. This is going to put pressure on the White House, whether it's intentionally timed or whether it's just the consequence of having indicted somebody who was once the person's chief confidant. This is unwanted pressure on the White House. As a former judge, as a lawyer, as a person who studies this, I hope from the bottom of my heart that this is not politically motivated.
Does the timing seem fair, though?
Yeah, and
well, you know, there's pressure on Bob Mueller to do something. He also needs to file an indictment when the time is appropriate. He's probably going to argue later today at a press conference when he's asked this very question by you or one of our colleagues that the time was appropriate and it was now.
Go ahead, Mack. Mack, jump in here.
Well, my point is, I think, just to build on what the judge said, I think you've got to have a credible effort in terms of the special counsel's office. It's got to be viewed objective and not political. The same goes for the Senate and House committees. If not, we won't be able to work through this. That's what we need to do for our democracy, Maria.
But Mack, you talk about pressure on the White House. What kind of pressure does this put on Congress now when it's got an agenda that's overloaded with taxes and health care and other issues? Does this become a huge distraction and make it harder for Congress to get anything done on the Trump agenda?
It complicates it, but I don't think it precludes it. I think there's a real push for tax reform. I think the Republicans particularly feel the pressure there. They have not passed any major legislation. We were fortunate in the Clinton administration to have our major piece passed before the August break. So I think it complicates it, but I do not believe it precludes it. But
maybe it takes pressure off of the intelligence committees in the House and the Senate. They were talking about trying to wrap up their investigations soon on the Senate side in February even. So with indictments out of Mueller, maybe it takes a little bit of the heat off of them.
Prosecutors always have better tools for acquiring information than congressional committees do.
Threats
of indictment.
The threat of going to jail.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
So the charge that we know right now, tax fraud.
That's one
of the charges.
Yes, that's just among the charges is tax fraud, according to Dow Jones.
Mack McLarty, thank you so much, sir. Good to see you. Judge
Napolitano.
Napolitano.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll be